All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most critical jobs in aviation, one you've probably never even heard of. We're drawing from an awesome article by Rob Kennedy, part of his AvGeek in Residence series, which shines a spotlight on all these lesser-known roles that honestly keep our skies working. So let's meet the people who prevent total chaos on the tarmac. We've all seen the headlines, right? Remember when Southwest's scheduling system completely melted down, stranding people for days? Or when Air Canada's operations ground to a halt? Even something like a wave of sick calls at Newark's air traffic control can cause a system-wide failure. The common thread in all of these messes? It always comes back to scheduling. That is a fantastic question, isn't it? Because when everything goes right, when your bag shows up and your flight pushes back on time, it almost feels like magic. But you and I both know it's not magic. It's the result of this constant, high-stakes balancing act performed by a group of real unsung heroes. And those unsung heroes, the hidden key to keeping that entire ground operation humming along, they have a specific title: the workforce planner. So at its very core, a workforce planner's entire mission is to make sure every single job on the ground is staffed. We're talking baggage handlers, the folks fueling the plane, the de-icing crews in the winter, you name it. They're like a human algorithm, making sure the right people are in exactly the right place at the right time. And believe me, it is a constant juggle. Just think about it for a second. They aren't just making a schedule and calling it a day. They are reacting in real time to everything. Weather delays pop up, someone calls in sick, a plane has a mechanical issue, an employee needs last-minute time off. Their entire job is to stop those little cracks from turning into a full-blown airport meltdown. Now, you're probably thinking this job requires some kind of hyper-specialized aviation degree, right? Well, what's so fascinating is that the skills you need are incredibly transferable. In fact, there's a good chance you might already have the exact experience they're looking for. Just take a look at this. Ever had to schedule nurses in a hospital? Trying to juggle all those complicated shift rules? That's workforce planning. Ever staffed a hotel or a cruise ship during the peak holiday season? That's workforce planning too. How about managing a warehouse during that crazy seasonal rush? You guessed it. The aviation world really values that kind of hands-on experience. But it's not just about moving names around on a spreadsheet. Not at all. The best planners, the ones who really succeed, are masters of communication. And they are incredibly detail-oriented, especially when it comes to compliance. These soft skills are what truly set them apart. I mean, these folks basically live in a state of constant negotiation. They're the ones who have to tell a supervisor, hey, you're going to be short-staffed for this next flight, or explain to an employee why their shift suddenly had to change. It takes this unique mix of being firm, but also being fair, a real diplomatic touch, because you're dealing with logistics that directly affect people's lives. Planners are also kind of the first line of defense for HR and operations. They're the first ones to see a pattern, to realize a team is getting really strained and needs new hires. And this is critical. They track every license and certification for the ground crew. Letting an airside driving permit expire isn't just a simple mistake. It's a major regulatory violation. They help prevent every single day. Okay, so if this is starting to sound interesting to you, you might be wondering, how do I actually get a job like this? Let's break down the practical side of building a career as a workforce planner. So there are 4 main types of employers you'd be looking at. First, obviously, are the airlines themselves. We're talking the big legacy carriers, the regionals, all of them. Then you have these huge ground handling companies like Swissport or Menzies that service a bunch of different airlines. Major airports often hire planners directly, and so do FBOs, which are the companies that handle all the private and corporate jets. The work environment is pretty much what you'd picture: a fast-paced, office-based operations center. Think lots of screens, lots of energy, lots of moving parts. And because airports never really sleep, planners often work in shifts to provide that crucial round-the-clock coverage. All right, let's talk about compensation. In the US, you're typically looking at a range of about $45,000 to $75,000, with the higher end of that scale usually found at major hubs like Chicago O'Hare. The pay in Canada is pretty similar. It's a solid career with a salary that really reflects the level of responsibility. And honestly, here's the best part. The barrier to entry is totally manageable. Most planners get their start with a high school diploma and just a few years of experience working somewhere in an airport environment. Yeah, a degree in business or logistics is definitely a plus, But what really matters are your organizational skills and how well you communicate. And listen, this isn't some dead-end job you get stuck in. No way. It's a launch pad. A good planner can move up to become an operations supervisor, then a station manager running the whole show at an airport, and maybe even a regional workforce manager overseeing multiple locations. There's a really clear and rewarding path for growth here. So let's just zoom out for a second and put this all together. When you think about the thousands of moving parts that make an airport actually function, it's so easy to just focus on the pilots and the planes. But the real rhythm, the daily beat of the place, is actually set by someone else entirely. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It just perfectly captures what this job is all about. They are the quiet orchestrators. Every single flight you've ever been on depended on dozens of people showing up on time. And that doesn't just happen by accident. It happens because a workforce planner somewhere in an office made it happen. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Workforce planners are just one example of these countless, almost invisible jobs that keep our incredibly complex world running smoothly. So next time you're at an airport and you're watching a plane push back from the gate, just take a second to appreciate the quiet orchestrator who made that all possible. What other hidden roles can you think of? Stay curious.